He was just walking his daughter home from school when 3 police cars pulled up, guns drawn. Asterisk, why? Asterisk, because someone said a black man with a little white girl didn't look right. Asterisk, but 3 hours later, this same man had the entire neighborhood speechless. Asterisk, James Thompson was a 33-year-old single father living in a quiet, mostly white suburban neighborhood. He worked hard, kept to himself, and devoted his life to raising his daughter. Lily, she was 7 years old, full of questions and energy, and to James, she was the center of his world. What made people stare sometimes was that James was black, and Lily was white. But to them, they were just father and daughter bound by love, not skin color. James had adopted Lily when she was only 2, after fostering her from infancy. Her birth parents were gone, but James never let her feel like she lacked a family. Every weekday at 2:45 p.m., he walked the same route to her school, waited by the same gate, and walked her home with her small hand tucked safely into his. They laughed about silly things like her spelling tests or how much she hated carrots and sometimes stopped by the park if the sun was still out. On this particular Thursday, everything felt the same. The air was crisp, the sky was clear, and Lily was talking nonstop about a school art project. James smiled, enjoying the sound of her voice. But as they turned the corner onto their street, he noticed someone on the opposite sidewalk was staring at them a little too long. A woman in a light jacket, clutching her phone, eyes locked on them like something wasn't right. James glanced at her, nodded politely, and kept walking. He was used to those looks that lasted too long, the quiet questions people didn't say out loud. He squeezed Lily's hand gently and said, "Almost home, baby girl." But he had no idea that within minutes, that same woman would make a call that would change everything. Asterisk, they were just a few houses away from their front door when the sound of sirens pierced the calm afternoon. James turned around, confused, only to see 3 police cars speeding toward them. Before he could react, the cars screeched to a halt beside the sidewalk, doors flying open. Officers jumped out, guns drawn, shouting, "Step away from the child." James froze. Lily gripped his hand tighter, her smile vanishing into panic. "Daddy," she whispered, trembling. James slowly raised his hands, heart pounding, eyes wide. "She's my daughter," he said firmly, but calmly. One officer shouted for him to get on the ground. "She's mine," James repeated, trying to explain. "My name is James Thompson. I adopted her. Call the school, call anyone," but his voice was drowned out by orders. Within seconds, he was handcuffed on the cold concrete, his daughter crying just feet away. Neighbors peeked from windows, others stood outside, watching the scene unfold like a movie. None of them came forward. Lily cried out, "He's my daddy. Please stop." But the officers had already separated them. An officer tried to comfort her, but she pulled away, wanting only her dad. James sat in the back of the squad car, his chest heavy not from fear, but from heartbreak. He wasn't worried about being proven innocent. He knew the truth would come out. What hurt was knowing that in the eyes of a stranger, love wasn't enough. That someone had looked at a black man holding a white child and assumed the worst. And now, his daughter, who had never seen him as anything but her hero, was learning that the world didn't always see him that way. As the door slammed shut beside him, James knew nothing would be the same after this. James sat in the back of the police car for what felt like forever. His hands were still cuffed, resting in his lap, and his eyes stared out the window with a mix of sadness and exhaustion. At the station, they asked him question after question. Where were you going? What's your relationship to the child? Why is there no matching last name? James answered everything calmly, giving them Lily's school name, the adoption paperwork details, even the name of the judge who finalized it. But still, The officers didn't seem in a rush to believe him. Meanwhile, Lily sat alone in a quiet room, wrapped in a blanket, scared and confused. She kept asking when she could see her dad. A kind female officer gave her water and tried to distract her, but all Lily wanted was to go home. After nearly 3 hours of questioning, one of the senior officers finally picked up the phone and called the school like James had asked. Within minutes, everything was confirmed. The school staff knew James He was the one who always dropped off and picked up Lily, volunteered at events, even attended parent-teacher meetings. They faxed over the adoption records and school forms showing James Thompson as Lily's legal parent. There was no doubt anymore James had told the truth from the beginning. The officer who had doubted him the most looked down in shame as they unlocked the handcuffs and mumbled a half-hearted apology. James didn't say anything. He just wanted to hold his daughter. When they opened the door to the small room and Lily saw him, she ran straight into his arms. For a long moment, they just held each other. No words, no questions, just the comfort of being back where they belonged. Later that evening. After James and Lily returned home, the house felt quieter than usual. Lily stayed close to him, not letting go even when he sat down on the couch. James held her gently, brushing her hair back and whispering, "You're safe now." She nodded, but her eyes were still heavy with confusion. That night, after Lily finally fell asleep beside him, James sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at the adoption papers he'd pulled from the drawer. He didn't feel angry, he felt tired. Tired of having to prove what should already be obvious, that love has no color. He picked up his phone and took a selfie, just him and Lily, smiling together in better times. Then he opened social media and posted it with a short message. Today, someone thought this picture looked suspicious. They called the police. I was handcuffed. My daughter was questioned. All because our love didn't match their idea of what family looks like. But love isn't about skin, it's about heart. He hit post and left it alone. By morning, the photo had been shared thousands of times. Comments poured in, some apologizing, others outraged, and many offering love and support. News stations reached out. People in the neighborhood started realizing what had happened. James didn't share the post for attention, he did it for Lily. So one day she'd know the truth mattered. As the doorbell rang that afternoon, James opened it to find a reporter and a small group of neighbors. Some had flowers. Others brought cards for Lily. One woman, with tears in her eyes, said, "We're sorry. We judged you before knowing you." James didn't say much, just nodded. Because even though the hurt was still fresh, something had started to change. The truth was out-tanned. It couldn't be ignored anymore. In the days that followed, James noticed something different about the neighborhood. People who had once walked past him without a glance now nodded, waved, or even stopped to talk. Some brought cookies, others asked about Lily, and a few admitted they'd seen the police that day and regretted staying silent. James didn't need their guilt, but he accepted their kindness for Lily's sake. She was starting to smile again, and that's all that mattered. The photo he posted continued to spread online, sparking national conversations about race, family, and assumptions. News outlets featured his story. Schools and community centers invited him to speak. But James didn't want to be a hero, he just wanted to be a father. Still, he used the moment to make a quiet point. Don't just teach your kids what love looks like, show them it can look like anything. One evening, the neighborhood gathered for a small block event. Families brought food, kids played, and laughter filled the air. Someone had made a sign that read, "Love looks like this," with a photo of James and Lily beneath it. James stood beside his daughter, watching her giggle with her classmates. No fear, no tension, just joy. And for the first time since that terrible day, he let himself breathe. The same streets that once felt like a place of judgment now felt like a place of change. Not perfect, but trying. As the sun set, James scooped Lily into his arms, and she rested her head on his shoulder. "Are people still talking about us, Daddy?" she asked. He smiled softly. "Maybe, but what matters is we're together. And they finally see us for who we really are." He didn't need applause, just peace. And in that moment, he had both. If this story touched your heart, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to Black Stories for more powerful and emotional true stories.